What is that thing, that feeling that is driving us human beings in today's society the most? What is causing us the greatest good and harm for our daily life? Well, that's today's topic, and it's happiness. Happiness itself is something that we value a lot and that we actually don't take that much in consideration in our daily lives, but especially in that is related to business, marketing, and the things around us. Today we will discuss in happiness because that's an essential topic for any individual that is trying to generate that increased interest in any aspect of their lives. And we will be doing that based on the research method, the research methodology, and approaching that based on science, because that's how we could validate all the affirmations or all the things that we will be going through in today's podcast. Because let me tell you, feelings or sentiments are crucial. And it has been demonstrated that for any of our daily life, any part of ourselves, those emotions, those feelings are a crucial element, and we cannot ignore them. The response we have to certain inputs, the affections, judgments, evaluations, decisions, you said it, you name it, you got it, it's based on those emotions. And happiness plays a big and important role onto it. So, what are we gonna be going through into this podcast? Well, as always, I prepare my notes. I have here my iPad ready for you to discuss and go through several research, several stories or interviews of people who has been studying the topic, and then we will be complementing everything based upon my criteria and my experience. And if you're wondering, yes, my experience is on marketing, sales, and research. So for a fact, I can actually interpret the data in a simplistic way, because that's what we are here for today, for discussing, for entering this safe space, talking, of understanding, and obviously not judging anything, just learning how things are evolving, how we are up to date, and how can we move forward in the future. So without further delay, let's jump right into it. To whom it may concern, welcome to Common Sense, your safe haven. If anyone is listening, please keep in mind that we are together on this journey. This will always be your safe place to share your ideas, your thoughts, your comments, anything. So before we jump right back into the podcast, I have one simple question that I would like to ask you. What would you like to start with? So, happiness is an important role, but how are we going to approach this topic? Well, the main and the first one that we have in front of us today is the report given by us by Ipsos. Ipsos has released their Global Happiness 2023. For those of you who don't know, Ipsos is a research company, and we have access to this report publicly. What they've done in this occasion is take 32 developed countries and force them or make them get into service so they can actually understand and evaluate how is global happiness as of today. Because we have been going through several tough years, pandemic, recessions, all the things, all the changes in the paradigm that we know has been important. And it's useful to understand how things are moving, how things are as of today, and how they will be in the future. So, what can we expect from this report? Well, we have several topics. We won't go deep into each one of them, but just for the headlines of today is that the happiness has increased in Latin America, but is declining in the Western nations, and we will see why. The things that the individuals are more satisfied with are relationships and knowledge, not money or materialistic objects. So get that in consideration. Then, the level of satisfaction varied depending on the economic progress. This is not the economic level of an individual, but the economic progress of a certain group,
notion of entity as a unit. Then we will go in through the key drivers of happiness and how to implement them in your life, how they can be useful, and how can you control them into certain limits. And then we will finish with the lack of the support system that we actually know, are aware of, and how the future of relationships, how the world is moving, and a bit of the next generations for boomers or Gen Z, Gen Z, whatever you call it. So those are more or less the topics of this research. Then we have more things, especially more focus on the university business aspect, and a bit of personal opinions throughout the entire day. So, well, I told you about the report of Ipsos, but how is happiness distributed? I have right here for me in the screen a map of happiness across the world. This is expressed in percentages, so we can actually see that the top 5 countries that claim to be happier than the rest are in order: China, number 1, Arabia Saudi, number 2, then third place we have Netherlands in Europe, India, and Brazil. This could be shocking for many of you, because China, okay, makes sense, is right now, I would say, the first economic power in the world and in the ecosystem. But then second place is Arabia Saudi. Yeah, the exception to the rule, petroleum and the increase of richness in the populations is where everyone is going for. Taxes are literally zero, if I'm not mistaken. And then there are other things. But Europe is Netherlands. Well, maybe it's because of the wheat. Funny enough, but that's a joke. I think the level of life in Netherlands is quite good, but we don't have any southern countries like Spain or Latin America, except from Brazil. But yeah, it's United States is not even close to be on the top. And if we look at percentages, China is 91% happiness. I'm a bit doubtful about that. I would like to see how well the surveys were in China and how conditioned they were. Australia, who I believe to be a really good place, is 80%. Brazil is 83%. And then Europe is around the 70s. Portugal is 79%, which is good. And that's about it. But yeah, happiness, the average across the world is a 70% happiness, 73 to be precise. And that actually tells us that without the exceptions of countries in war right now and third developing countries that are out of the equation, that's why Africa and Russia and all of those are not implemented here because of obvious reasons. Happiness is positive. It's more than 70%. We tend to say that we are in a good spot overall. We have our things around there, but that's around it. And then we have the demographics, and everything is more or less the same. Between male and female is 73, 74. All the generations are more than 70 with a 2% minus or upper. And then, which actually says a lot, is that people who are married are more than 9% happier, more than a 9% happier than those that are not or in other situations. And obviously those with upper income are more than a 14% happier than those with lower income. So yeah, and education also tell us that gives people more happiness. So yeah, we see some patterns, we see some tendencies that are obvious and that make sense based upon any one criteria, but that this is really good or really interesting to be able to see them and to have an eye or a look at actual data that validate it. Now, how has the average between years, because we are seeing 2023 as a single year, but the interesting thing is seeing it on a 10 plus years period. So to see how the average has evolved, how countries have changed, etc., etc. And Ipsos has been doing this frequently enough, so we have some backup data to do a tracking and an evolution for better or for worse of the situation. So the average of happiness has increased globally is 6%. This was I was telling you that well, not on the 10 years. Compared to last year, we increased 6%, sorry. So between 2021, 2022, which was the last study was taken, and 2023 is a 6% growth. I think this is mainly because of the exit to pandemic, that life is getting back to normal, even though we have recessions and the economics are not in the greatest spot, but things has increased. But on the last decade, okay, we decreased 4% of happiness. So happiness has decreased 4%. On May 2023, happiness was 77%, but in this occasion, we are 73. So that's something that the fluctuation is there for sure. We are taking in consideration that May 2013 was right on the sweet spot after the rental estate, renting, yeah. How did you call it? Yeah, the rent state. Yeah, estates, like houses or that big crisis of Wall Street in 2007, 2008. That's a big sweet spot and between pandemic. So we have that. And then we talk about how the leading countries in happiness were. They actually don't tell us what was those reasons, but we have some key outputs of the whole countries, let's say, not a specific. Yeah. Things are changed. Yeah. What are those key drivers? That was the thing I was trying to look for. Key drivers on satisfactions and happiness is as simple as feeling that my life has meaning. You will see those are quite philosophical and there is not a clear answer into them. Having meaning in everyday lives, feeling in control of the life, makes sense. Mental health and well-being, that's a key that appear to be new. Especially mental health, well-being, like physical or eating well, that was something that has been considered before, but mental health is a social life, living as humans, because humans are meant to live in a society with others, and then living conditions being sufficient or well enough or just about what we expect, okay? And then if we make a table crossing satisfaction and the impact of happiness, we see that the highest percentage of happiness and satisfaction and how can one and the other impact on, like how the impact is going, is that feeling love gets the highest rate over all the topics that were shown. Feeling love. And if we go to the average, it's having friends or co-workers. If we go one step below, it's having children's or a relationship with a partner or with a spouse. What are we seeing here? The satisfactions and the impact of happiness is completely carried by others. Though all of those topics or those lines that I told you, feeling love, friends, co-workers, children's, relationships, all of them implies another person, having someone else next to you. So if you really wanna see a growth in happiness and an impact, start rejecting others, start opening yourself to people, to relationships, to feeling love, and you will see how from day to night, things will change dramatically for better. It's not about money, it's not about status, it's about people. Those next to you are who really matter. And that's a really beautiful message to get out of this happiness report that we're seeing. Yes, of course, after that, there are some more materialistic, because jobs, how you look, physical health, sex life, material positions, social status, those are on the medium levels, okay? More than 60%. Those matters, yes, but the ones that matter the most will be relationships as a package. Because you can fail at having a job and scaling the status, but you will have something to grab onto, which are the people and the persons next to you. And then lowest of happiness is countries' social political situations, countries' economic situations, even own financial situations give us the least happiness, because once you reach and surpass a certain bare minimum of a living condition, for 99% of people, the going one step beyond won't be necessary. And no matter how many messages and short reels you see on the internet saying that with $400,000 you cannot live your life, with you need to be getting a Lamborghini at 20 years old in order you need to have a serious conversation with yourself, you need to get 1 million by 25. No matter how many of those videos you see, when you really ask people out on the street without judgment, without feeling compromised, what drives happiness, money and all of assets are the lowest on the pyramid. And the number one on the priority are people. People is what actually matters. But people and happiness don't sell as good as it sell telling others how you can gain 1 million euros. Because you can teach someone how to gain 1 million euros. Yes, technically you can. It's mathematical. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. At the end of 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, you get 1 million. That's a line. If you follow that, you will get it. If you take longer, it will take shorter. That's where variables enter. But there is no straight path to feeling love, to having friends, to having a relationship, to getting friends. There is no straight line. 1 plus 1 plus 1 won't work, because money is maths, but relations and people is empathy, is psychology. It's another science, way more complex than a simple mathematical line. So they can teach you how to make money, but no one could ever teach you how to feel loved. That's as simple as it gets. Now, here we have interesting questions that I would like to carry on, which is having support and having experience, or have an experience with a difficult situation. And if you have support, that's the goal. 72% said that he or she have one or several close friends that they could rely on to help me in case of need. 72%. And I'm sad in a way, because I would like that to be 98%. Because what this is telling me is that 28% could not have someone to rely on, not even a single person. And 28% of 100 people is 28% of 100 people is 28 persons. Out of your classroom of 30, if you're studying, if you're working, of your team of 10, 3 of them don't have anyone to rely on. This is the statistics. And it is sad, because not having someone to rely when hard times come by is tough, and everyone cannot actually get over those things, those hard moments alone. Not everyone has the mental strength to survive that. You don't need to. You don't need to be so strong that you can carry everything by yourself. That's why others are around us. So instead of finding it positive, which it is positive, I would actually love to see more, or close to 100% the population having someone to rely on one way or the other. That's a place to work on. Then 39% also said that they recently experienced a deeply disturbing or distressing event that they prevented it from feeling good about life. And to no surprise, those are the things that compromise happiness, because there are many events in life, no matter how silly it may look for you, that are disturbing in a way that get your sleep off, that don't allow you to have a normal day. And even more people said that they are facing a difficult personal relationship that they could not resolve by themselves. This, once again, all of that is saying us is that there are people who is alone, and we don't know. But studies tell us that people live and suffer many problems alone by themselves, and that is causing them greater harms that we could actually imagine. So we need to be aware of that, and we need to be empathic with people. We need to be comprehensive with them. We cannot let our rage, our anger, our, I don't know, unlikeness towards someone else carry out a decision or a problem, because we don't know how the other person is feeling, how the other person situation at home is, how they're living their life. We don't know anything. So it's crucial that we understand those numbers, because yes, those are numbers. This is literally a graph that if I show you, you will see how it's just a circle. This is just a simple circle, okay? That is telling me 37% has no one to rely on. Yes, this is a number behind a screen. But what is the real value of that number behind the screen? Behind that number, behind every number, there is a person, there is a reasoning, there is a consequence. That's why we need to understand data. And yes, I'm going off topic, but please aware of that. When you see people, 80% people claim to be happy, think on the other 20%. Not to feel bad about them, not like we can actually do something that will change things immediately, but we can actually implement that in our daily life. So when we face someone, we'll be 20% more empathic. That's, I think, what we should get out of this, okay? Happiness. Next one. I have one really interesting here. That is talking about romantic situations. And I believe this is quite interesting because it's pretty much the same for everyone. How hard is finding someone else for people as of today? How hard is it? It's easier, it's harder, about the same. For people, it's harder. But nowadays, this is a debate to be hard to have. How can nowadays, where we have access to communication tools and a lot of millions, and it being connected much more than before, be harder to meet someone? There are a lot of things here that are out of our power, but it's harder for people to find someone romantic. The same way it's harder for married people to maintain a happy relationship. The same way it's harder for people to have close friends that they can count on. How can it be harder? Everything is harder. Having someone, staying with someone for a long time, getting a friend to count on. Things get harder in today's world. And I really believe this is shocking. Shocking because, I don't know, for me it should be easier. I don't know if it's culture, if it's technology, but actually is getting in the way. How can exist such a big lack of support for people, for everyone alive? Because 4 out of 10 claim to have experienced distressing events, especially those with lower incomes, with women, and then we actually see that they actually don't have anyone to be with. And we go and ask for that romantic partner, how the future will be, because we're saying people need to count on people, like they need to count on people. Not everyone has access to that person. Not everyone has someone to rely on, and then it's harder to get those person. So this is not a really optimistic way. Like if we see negativity predominates, and I think someone need to get out here and claim to propose a change of how things should be, or how should we interact, because the future of relationships seems to be done already. Seems to be done to be lost, to be out of power. I don't know, like especially the developed countries in terms of happiness. I would actually really love to see how happy people in Africa are. People with no, like, if we take out the basic need, if they're happy or not, if we cover those basic needs, are they happy? Are they not? How are they moving? I don't know. Seems weird for me. Which is, it's tough. It's tough. That's the thing. There is no conclusion. I don't have a message to say. Just if you have someone next to you, take care of them. Take care of the loved ones. Send a few WhatsApps to people. Remind them that you're alive and that they matter to you. Let's try, everyone, to move into a world where relationships matter a bit more, and it's not something hard to come and go by. So we have been exploring for me, it's fascinating topic of happiness in relationships, in the world, as a term alone. But we are here for some juicy stuff, and I've been doing some webinars about brand awareness, how to build a brand, how to actually understand the customer journey, and the next one is about added values. And this topic fits really well into our line of topics, because happiness plays such an important role in customer behavior. Okay, satisfaction is related to happiness. If a customer's happiness, more likely they will be satisfied and the behavior will be positive. And marketing itself tries to attack or approach the topic of happiness in everything they do, before you buy, after you buy, during your purchase. So we play with happiness. We play with happiness, which seems like a contradiction, but we play with the happiness of consumers to influence their behavior. And we need to, as everything, take in consideration the consequences that it brings. How, if we increase happiness, loyalty will be higher, and then those more loyal customers can be moved and influenced to bring other friends by referrals. And you can explore ways to integrate the happiness in the marketing strategies, how the actions go. Then we have sustainable marketing that is right now a big trend, because sustainability brings happiness to a certain degree of the population, and it keeps going over and over and over and over. So get ready, because learning about this fascinating world of consumer behavior, it's crazy, and we cannot go over everything. This is just some extracts of information, some pieces, but how brands, how companies have psychologists analyzing the behavior of people just so they can actually increase it by 1%. It's scary and fascinating at the same time, both if you like the topic or dislike it, because it's great how easily manipulatable we are, but how easy we can influence others and increase their happiness through diverse actions. Okay. Here I have the extract, which is from Lee and Sergi, and they propose 4 concepts. Okay, those 4 concepts allow us to capture well-being in an easier way, which is the product acquisition, material positions, and then the satisfaction provided during the journey, having major positive emotions, and this new topic that I've been saying, that are how emotions and how our sense of, like, touch, nose, like those things, you get me, can actually increase the excitement, the amusement on a purchase. And what they do is extract all of the 4 stages of what is a normal buy, and they divide it into how can actually be affected. What we tend to do on consumer behavior and what brands tend to do is use a bipolar approach. What we do, what I meant to be bipolar, is how positive and negative can benefit us depending on the moment that we introduce them. So we don't normally go out or experience something or see someone and we tell them, oh, I'm so happy. Oh, this was so happy. I'm so happy after I saw this, or my happiness has increased so much after I bought this Louis Vuitton umbrella. I don't know, whatever. Doesn't matter. We don't quantify happiness and we barely value that as a new unit of measurement. So, since we as humans don't use happiness as a unit of emotion, we can play with the happiness because it's not something that is directly recognized by our brain. That's what the actually things goes on. So we set marketers and people in that make play on strategies. We set emotions. We make a set of emotion, and we appropriately provide or distribute that assessment to consumers depending on the situations. So if we present problems of validity in terms of the buyer, or you're not feeling validated, the purchase is not, but we present you the problem before. And we make it difficult for you to demonstrate empirically that your problem of seeing the experience, we, or the product or the service, will be easier to present you or give you the answer, the solution, if you yourself are not able to come up with that solution empirically that you actually feel validated by to satisfy you. So we present you such a discomfort, such an unhappiness that you were even aware of. We didn't allow you to have, or you weren't able to have and come up with a solution before that same product introduced it to you. So the measure of happiness will be way higher, because if you're on a straight line, let's say this is 0, before you even notice you were -10 because of the situation we presented to you. And after we give you the solution, you're +2. So if we didn't actually play with your emotion at the first place, you will be seeing such a minimum gain that it wouldn't be even noticeable, barely noticeable. But when you were allowed -10 and then came back to 2, the increasement is +12 points. Imagine this. Your increasement is way higher because we played with you. Does this mean that the product or whatever you bought didn't or wasn't as good? No. It means that we need to get the most value out of the journey, and that this is a way of playing. If we are limited by the product, we can play with the emotions. Okay. So if you cannot increase the product any longer, you decrease the happiness and then promote that and work to boost that through your own channels. And this may seem easy, but the psychology is way harder because you don't know how people is going to respond to the way you're presenting things. And there's problems of measuring, because if we don't actually quantify happiness as a measure unit, how we can actually use that to measure the return of investment, the return of our action. So there are a lot of challenges, a lot of measurements, a lot of problems of scales, how to be reliable, how to develop that. And it gets hard. So bear in mind that happiness by itself in branding and marketing is the centerpiece of many strategies, even though we don't realize that. And get in considerations and be aware of that companies play with that, okay? Because it has been a long-term use strategy. Now, as everything in lives, there are continuous changes. And it is the same for happiness. Happiness has evolved, or better said, consumer happiness has changed. And this is good, because if not, we will be stuck with the same things for eternity. The factors that I mentioned you that implies in happiness at the first place, those factors that are making some countries more happy than others, like relationships, and those key drivers of feeling useful, having control in your life, feeling value, is strongly correlated to the business's approach and the changes of shifts in paradigm that we're seeing. Now, today, the driven factors for consumers are much more related to fulfilling your life, having a positive impact. So it's no longer about money, discounts. It's no longer about giving more quantity. It's not about that. It's about, okay, I'm spending the money, but I not only want a product or a service, I want an experience. I want my happiness to be carried out during the whole experience. So we don't focus more on this stuff. We don't buy objects. We kind of are buying happiness now, because the object could be so shitty that if we were happy all the way through, we could actually leave it as it is. So, what has changed? What can we see? This is where positive happiness, positive technology, and the positive techniques come into play. We are, and you will need to, in your companies, emphasize way more, okay, on the satisfactions of autonomy. And what we means is that you have made the choice, you as the customers, not you as the client, not you as the seller. The client need to make the choice, need to feel like he's in control, because that will be happier for him, rather than feeling forced to take one or the other. He chose. Okay, you're only showing options. You're not choosing for that person. Now, it's important to be aware of the relatedness between, okay, what we bring to him and when he needs to choose. Because yes, many people in sales push way harder than they need the higher priced objects so that they get higher commissions. And that actually is harming you more than you would think, because they will buy you once, but what if they can buy you 3 times? And those 3 times are already more than the first buy. What if they actually send it back and then you got a return? You didn't sell it. You didn't even sell. You put effort into nothing. What if they're not happy and they tell everyone else? Think about that, because if we make and we find the key so that people choose, even though we didn't even give them options. So even though imagine that there is one product, if you manage to sell them or to manage them to choose your only product without any alternative, you are already beast and way above everyone else, because you were able, through the impact rewarding of your actions, to make them feel like they chose you, even though you didn't even give them an options. Okay, and this whole process of allowing customers to choose starts in the design of the product, in the marketing strategies, in the promotion and communication strategies, in the way we interact with the people, in the way it's sold to them, in the way we actually take care of the after sales, how the community is built. It takes place in every one of those steps. Allowing the customers to feel happy about choosing you, it's a repetition of one by one small habits that you implemented in every one of those steps that led to the authentic happiness that will thrive those customers to come once again to you and feel that overall, like, oh, they will arrive home, feel and say, they wouldn't even have words to express their feelings. They would just be, they would nod with their head and continue forward. And and you'll see many examples. When you open a can of Coke, it's like you open happiness. You got one product. Think about how Coca-Cola made it so good. You chose one product. When you bought Coca-Cola, you felt satisfied. But there is one more step. Okay? You are buying Coca-Cola, but what if you buy it and don't drink it? It will sit on your cupboard and you will buy again. And when times run off, you will throw it and say, hey, I haven't drank one, so I'm not going to buy it again. So first of all, they cross the line of you buy Coca-Cola, you don't buy Pepsi, so you're happy. You bought the good one. You bought like premium Coca-Cola, even though everyone is the same. But then you're at home and you're thinking, water, which is what everyone says is the option, would make me healthier, or should I be guilty or open a can of Coca-Cola and even feel bad the next day? They made it so that every time you sip and you hear the bubbles, a can of Coca-Cola, it's fair to happiness. Because if not, you wouldn't open a can of Coca-Cola, even at the first place. Having that lid pop on a bar, having that can clean, the bottle twist, and hearing this, that's scientifically measured one by one. So you have the same experience, no matter where you are, how your can of water of Coca-Cola is. How BMW make you drive their machines, how Campbell put you on the road of happiness with their sauce, this is what we're talking about. How the marketing has and will always be fair to happiness. And how brands recognize early on that this was the way. McDonald's, loving it. Doves, speaking beautiful. Every campaign has happy into their naming, into the slogan, everyone. That's involved into every action. Not now, forever. Okay? And this is what I've told you. And now we are aware of it. But when we were aware, this was it was already there. Okay? We are not just more consumptions about what we consume, what we buy, all the stuff. Okay? So the positive psychology, studying those strengths, those virtual individuals, the communities, how you can treat them, how can your brand be more appealing. It's something that we are actually putting more effort now because it's more demanding by customers, but it doesn't mean that it didn't exist at the first place, okay? And if we actually start talking about positive psychology, we could be here forever. I would be making a webinar of positive psychology in happiness and customer behavior separately, but as a conclusion to end up today, we need to be, as companies, having impact on them, and not through sales, but through well-being, okay? When you approach your next moment of decisions, of strategies, make the center of the room, put positive marketing, okay? You can use the V positive, which is you can actually include V positive, which is a measurement unit for how valuable and positive your campaign was, and start measuring it. Okay. Introduce a KPI of happiness, of satisfaction, of whatever you want to do, and start actually conceptualizing how the happiness should be at the end of your campaign. You should put a goal, and you should say, this is how happiness should look like when we finish. And then analyze if that works or not. If you surpass expectations, if you were below, think about it, okay? Start designing positive areas for marketing. Positive should be the next step and the center of any strategies of companies for the future. If you're not able to have a positive impact on people, it's game over. So get yourself the creativeness, the autonomy, and master the art of happiness, like we said today. So, happiness, emotions, are the relevant factors in today's world. The new science of positive psychology has taken an important role. How countries have developed over the countries, how we're seeing a decrease in overall happiness over the last decade, and that we expect it to grow. And how marketers should take out, like what should marketing take away from this is the increasingly trend of appealing customers, of engaging them and pursuing happiness throughout the whole process. Even before they know you're there, you should pursue happiness. Happiness should be the number one goal, because if we allow them to be happy, society should be happier at all. And if we, or you and me, actually pair this happiness goal with engaging more, trusting and creating bonds, and when you're trying to sell a product, you're also trying to build a community where people feel safe and secure, as we're doing today with Common Sense, I think we could all grow better. So if you get to this point, you will now understand why Common Sense is our safe space. The happiness, the actual reality of people not having someone to rely on is threatening, and it worries me. So that is why I created this movement, this space, so you can tell me, what do you want to talk about? What would you want to know? What did you choose? It's your choice. We are making the journey together. So it's up to you to make a decision. I'll leave it to you. I'm just here, and I will always be here, building the environment so you can actually get your path done. Thank you very much for staying in our 12th podcast, or 11th. I don't know, I'm not sure. It's almost 3 months, or 3 months already, and I'm grateful for the journey. Thank you, everyone, for the support, if it's there or not. And as always, I'll see you next week.